You walk out on a regular afternoon in China, and then you see this. A parade of parents showing their missing children. Child kidnapping, abduction, it's an issue I grew up knowing very well. In fact, if you ask every child from China, they've probably been told by their parents thousands of times until their ears fell off. Watch out for strangers. Don't let them pat you on the head. You're going to end up going with them, abducted, and you won't ever see your parents again. Now, these type of scare for kids, it works because in China, it's very real. Now, supposedly, the issue, children abduction, has gone better over the years. So in 2026, in some ways, you could say that, yeah, it did improve, but in other ways, it did not. Here are some videos from last year and recently. A man got caught with a bottle of unknown liquid circling 3 girls, and he was filmed on camera. He pretends like he doesn't know what's going on, but in reality, we know that he was trying to kidnap them. A boy who doesn't look older than 15 tried to abduct a younger child in the shopping mall. A mom stopping her child from being taken by this older woman on camera. A woman here crying on her phone as her child just went missing. And this one here, on the evening of January 13th, 2026, an incident of child abduction occurred on the street in Shaoyang City, Hunan Province, where the human trafficker was caught on the spot, and he kept begging on his knees, saying that he would never do this again. He won't abduct children again. A kidnapper here is caught by the father of a child. Here you have Fafa, 4 kidnappers ganged up by the locals after they tried to abduct children.
这4个人光天化日抢小孩，太恐怖了！各位家长，看好自己的孩子啊！宾阳礼堂。
A new form that's very much known now, commonly talked about amongst Chinese people today, is this idea that the child is now not just a person, but rather the organ supply for somebody else. The new nickname, swapping car parts. Obviously, the car part being the organs. Young kids, young adults, mostly young boys, disappearing, missing. For example, this one on the afternoon of January 11th this year, at about 4:40 p.m., a 14-year-old boy named Yang Jiahao from the town of Shangji, this is in Henan province, he went missing at the entrance of the school. And on the morning of January 7th, again 2026, around 6 a.m., a 15-year-old boy, last name Luo, and he also from the same province, went missing on the way to school. On the morning of January 12th, around 6 a.m., a 13-year-old boy, last name Wang, from the same province, went missing on the way to school. And Danchen County 14-year-old girl, last name Xu, went missing around 6:30 a.m. on January 12th on her way to school. And this one, a boy missing from Henan, was missing since December 9th last year. His body was recently found in the water. Now, many of these cases are no longer about the child going missing simply because they were abducted and sold elsewhere in the country. They are missing because they've been found to be compatible as an organ donor for somebody else in China. Many of these cases are happening in the province of Henan. Unfortunately, this province is notoriously known for all the bad crimes, from the smallest things like pickpockets to the largest stuff like kidnapping. It's just terribly, the reputation is terrible, and for good reasons, because a lot of these happen in that province. So a focus today on this main case is what's going on right now, a case of a boy in a place called Shincai County. The boy was offed for likely his organ or his blood, and or at least he was about to be taken for his organ. And there was a massive protest from parents and local residents who basically surrounded the school and wanted an answer as to how the boy died and why he was being taken to the hospital. And obviously this online discussion around the mysterious ending is still continuing, but there's a lot of censorship around it. So let's talk about this. All right, so this video here shows the number of cars you see piled up in front of the school, blocking the traffic, and then eventually cops also showed up. So it's a big deal, right? But you won't find much about this case on Chinese social media because they've censored most of the content. What happened was on January 8th, a 13-year-old male student at Tsinghua Garden School in Henan province, he died inexplicably. Before the family could even find out or arrive, an ambulance had already tried to take the boy's body to a hospital. Now, people stopped them. And the schools still haven't released an official cause of death or reason for the cause of death, and claims that the security camera surveillance system cannot be viewed. Now, the information that's been published by sort of an official body comes from the education ministry of this particular area, and they ruled it not as a criminal case. Now, my question and many people's question is, since when is the education ministry the police? Since when can they publish the status of a report? So that's already suspicious. Now, the family came to claim the body eventually, but they were initially blocked from seeing the child. From the leaked videos and the photos, we see that the boy has a hole on his chest on the left side, which is where the heart is. Now, although it doesn't necessarily mean anything by itself, some comments have alleged that this is a form of a rapid heart preservation technique, which is doctors use this to pump in the preservation fluid for the organ so that it obviously lasts longer, can be used for heart removal for the transplant. And this method supposedly maximizes the preservation of the freshness of the organ. Now, I don't know anything about this particular method. I'd love if somebody with a medical background could shed some light on this, whether this is true or not. But you also see on the boy's, around his mouth, the corner of his mouth, there's a red streak of liquid, likely blood, or could be something else. And allegedly, he was just fine a day before this when he passed away. And the photo here shows that the boy had done a physical exam just a day prior to his death. And you see here he's been smiling. Now, the latest official report claims that he died from a what's called a cardiomyopathy, which is the chronic diseases of the muscles of the heart. So if that is the case, according to the official report, then that means that the doctors shouldn't have to punch a hole or try to get his heart, because that heart is likely problematic to begin with. So the heart isn't functioning well. Why would they want it for a transplant anyways? What they've done so far is they've censored everything across the board. They've even blocked off the roads going into the town. And like I said, you won't find much of the details on Chinese internet, and it's been a few days since then. So what's happening now is that there's been a lot of speculations as to what's the real details. Some claim that the boy had a very rare type of blood in China, which is Rh negative. It's even called panda blood in China because I guess it's going extinct like pandas. But it's Rh negative blood. It's very rare in China. It's, you can only, if you are an Rh negative person and you need blood, you need to get it from that Rh blood type. Now, this would make sense as to, for example, some sort of a plot to steal the boy's blood or his organs. But otherwise, there's been no external trauma or injuries on the body. It doesn't seem like he jumped from a building or offed himself. And for more details, there's a version where he was fighting with someone and that ended badly. Again, there's no way to prove this because the school doesn't want to release the surveillance camera footage. And for more information from what I can gather so far, it seems after the child died at the school, his cousin was the first one to call the family, his father, which is the little boy's uncle. So then the uncle immediately drove to the back gate of the school to block that fake ambulance from taking his niece to the County People's Hospital. It's only about 200 meters, so that's like less than 5 minutes walking on foot. You could have carried the child to the hospital on foot, or you could have just gone there. But it seems like the ambulance was needed somehow to transport this person. So some people say that maybe they were trying to take them to a different hospital, and that's why you have this this situation of transportation. And then some people say that the school itself was established by a group of wealthy individuals. Multiple schools who are owned or I guess established by the same group have experienced incidents of students suddenly dying, and then all of them were boys. Again, there's no way to prove any of these, but these are just some of the details coming up. What's even scarier is that a day later, another boy had gone missing, just exactly like a day after that, the first boy that we're talking about. And he did so, gone missing in a nearby town, which is only about 20 to 30 miles from the location of this school. Like, everything's pretty crazy. So you can imagine the feelings of parents in China. You were, from my generation at least, you were told that you don't talk to strangers. Obviously, that's pretty common everywhere. But it's like you try to be alert that somebody is trying to pat you on your head. I don't know how they do it, but they do, they pat your head and then you kind of immediately follow them, right? So that's how people get kidnapped. To now, they say, or the CCP claims that China is very safe, no kidnapping or what's been happening. You still see videos of that, but more, now you have an unknown group of people who is targeting your boy or your girl for their organ, for their blood, for whatever the case may be while they're at school, which in many cases for a lot of Chinese students, they have to do boarding school where they have to travel to the next town over to stay at that school. So you can't just always be watching them at home, especially common for those migrant worker parents who, their kids maybe have to stay with their grandparents or stay in a dorm 5 days a week, that type of thing. So a lot of ways or chances for these people to do harm to your child. And that's why people in China talk about this idea of swapping car parts. Because to you, or I guess to the authorities or whoever wants that part, you're simply a mechanic shop or you're like a salvage junkyard, that type of feeling, which is very scary. All right, that's it today for the episode on China's abduction and kidnapping situation for young boys and girls. And if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe to our new channel and comment below your thoughts on this topic. Check out David on China. This is our new channel on YouTube. You can find that in the collaboration section just below the title of this video. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.